Good morning, I'm Wendy Burke and this is the CBC Morning Report for Wednesday, July 13th. In our top story, the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association is concerned with the emerging global trends that continue to threaten the recovery of the industry and to dampen the pent-up demand for travel. As a destination, Barbados is already faced with the challenge of significantly reduced airlift across all markets, which continues to translate into lower arrival numbers to the island. The BHTA says it has been negatively impacting occupancy levels and the level of business across the entire tourism sector. They are now concerned about what is happening at Heathrow Airport. They said it is not anticipated that they would have seen a recovery in the situation with airlift from the UK until November this year. And that's when they would have expected to see increases in airlift over the 2019 level. The increase currently anticipated is just over 6,000 additional seats from November and December 2022. However, the impact of the cabin crew and other airline worker shortages in the UK has so far been minimal on Barbados, as airlines are mainly cancelling domestic and short-haul flights. International flights continue to operate as normal for the most part. According to the chairman of the BHTA, Renee Coppin, there have been issues with luggage being left behind, and clearly they will have to continue to monitor the dynamic of the evolving situation. The bells and whistles, which usually accompany some entertainment events for Cropover, will be missing because of the reduced sponsorship levels. There will be an exclusion of a VIP section at this year's This Is Rick show. Pyramid Entertainment, the management company for Lil Rick and many other local and regional artists, told Morning Report it's not a matter of not wanting to treat patrons to that extra wow factor.
It is not our intention at this point to do a VIP, actually. We're thinking of just having one open space. We may do cabanas, but that is dependent on what Kensington says and where we can put them down and stuff. But it is not our intention this year to do a VIP.
Mr. Ward said the reality is that the sponsorship pool this year is far smaller.
It's not so much about the treatment. It's coming down now to cost. Sponsorship is down when it comes to, especially for the alcoholic beverage sponsors. There's not that much sponsorship to go around. So whereas before, there were all these bells and whistles that we could have afforded, right now we're just trying to ensure that we can put on the best show possible with the resources we have. Although they've removed the mandatory mask wearing in open areas, I think that's best as well for us. So to have one huge open area would be best.
The entertainment manager said in terms of the show, they expect a far better response because with the change in COVID-19 protocols, the movement at the box office should be far better.
We are quite pleased. Thank you to the powers that be for having that done for us. The issue is really that, previously with those protocols in place, it really heavily impacted, first of all, the pre-event ticket sales. A lot of people, not knowing if that are unvaccinated that have to be tested, they're not buying tickets beforehand because what if they go buy tickets and then they're positive, then they can't go to the event. So that's heavily impacted the ticket sales for events prior to now. Thankfully, it's going to be quite a reduction in costs for the promoters in that we no longer would have to set up any on-site testing. We would no longer have to have tests done for our service providers, because it was supposed to be the service providers had to be vaccinated and tested. And it's less cost to the patrons as well, because now there's no testing for those patrons who are coming to the events.
In terms of staging the show, he says they are well ahead in their planning schedule.
We are feverishly planning, and we actually having our production meetings and stuff. So we have everything is in place, and we are definitely going ahead with the show. It will be on July 30th at Kensington Oval.
4-day band leaders are making the security of their members top priority and are hopeful that today's site visit on the mighty Griner Highway and other parts of the route will show that it will be safe as can be. Spokesman for the collective, Brian Worrell, told the Morning Report that they're confident that the security on the night-day event will be effective.
We are dependent on the Barbados Police Service and the other security services to work with us, work with the NCF, work with the bands to ensure the public that the event, this is a national event that we're doing and we want the public to be safe to come out. We had events all weekend, no instances at the events all weekend. And, I'm just hoping that the public and the security services can ensure the public, that our national events will be safe for the public to come out and attend. I know during the course of the preparations that we would have some meetings with the police service, as we always do.
Mr. Worrell said this morning's site visit should help them to better shore up some of the areas of concern.
We will go through and look at these spots that we traditionally would need additional lighting, additional police presence, etc. And then look to add some additional security measures. There's some things that we have always had some concerns in terms of sideline revelers impacting the bands, and we'll try to address that this year as well.
Next on the CBC Morning Report, updates on the pandemic and the war in Ukraine. Barbados recorded 297 new COVID-19 cases, inclusive of 128 males and 169 females, from the 1,108 tests carried out by the Dos Santos Public Health Laboratory on Monday. The cases comprised 67 people under the age of 18 and 230 who were 18 years and older. There were 41 people in isolation facilities, while 1,465 were in home isolation. Under the National Vaccination Program for COVID-19, the total number of fully vaccinated people is 153,713. St. Lucia has received notification from the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPHA, of its first confirmed case of COVID BA5 subvariant. The case is a 35-year-old female from Viewfort who does not have a history of travel. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sharon Belmar-George says this suggests in-country transmission of BA5 and the presence of other cases.
This suggests in-country transmission of BA5 and the presence of other cases. As we continue to note the return to normalcy with the opening up of events and mass crowd activities, we need to ensure that the proven public health measures are in place to prevent us from getting sick and to protect the most vulnerable. The public is reminded that the threat of COVID-19, long COVID, and its complications still exists, especially given St. Lucia's low immunization rate. Personal responsibility is extremely important at this time to reduce transmission of infection to ourselves and our family. The public is guided to continue the use of face masks in public, ensure hand washing and proper general sanitization. The public is also advised to use their discretion, ensure that they and their vulnerable family members are fully vaccinated and boosted before attending mass crowd events.
In an effort to manage COVID-19 cases in St. Lucia, the Ministry of Health has received 105 vials of the COVID-19 antiviral drug toxizumab, 400 milligrams from the Pan American Health Organization. Heathrow in England will limit the daily number of passengers using that airport until mid-September, citing staff shortages. Airlines have struggled with staffing shortages amid a surge of passengers eager to travel after pandemic lockdowns.
Before the pandemic, the average number of daily passengers at Heathrow was more than double that. But authorities say airlines and ground staff cannot cope with the recent rise in passenger numbers. The limit comes into effect on Tuesday and will last until September. Andrew Charlton in Reading, UK, is the Managing Director of Aviation Advocacy. He says Heathrow has written to airlines and told them not to operate certain flights.
What's going to happen is by limiting the number of passengers per day, the airport thinks that its baggage systems and its ability to cope will be much better. It cuts against, it's absolutely in the face of that surge in market demand. So it's going to be very unpopular, but things are going to be done. Heathrow monitors every flight. They know exactly which aircraft is coming in. And so Heathrow, and of course, they also charge per passenger loaded. So Heathrow have the data. So what they've done is written to airlines and told them that they must not operate various flights. Generally, they've gone to airlines that have more than one flight a day to particular destinations, and they've said, please only operate one flight rather than two flights, and try to limit it that way. At one level, from the airline side, it's a gift because, of course, what they have to do, what they're allowed to do now, of course, is if the number of seats they're offering is limited, they can improve the prices, they can increase the prices. Is it a good solution? It's an interim solution. It's better than the chaos we're currently seeing and better than the holidays that are being ruined. So it's very much an interim solution though, and it's clear that we need to get back to normal operations and start to do those things. For that, no one was ready for this massive surge when the sanctions were, when the restrictions and the health measures were lifted, and so it's better than nothing.
Ukraine has said it has carried out a long-range rocket strike against Russian forces and military equipment in southern Ukraine. Territory it says it is planning to retake in a counter-offensive using hundreds of thousands of troops.
This, say the Ukrainians, is the destruction of an arms depot. It's thought US-supplied HIMARS rockets were launched at the site in the Russian-controlled region of Kherson. The Ukrainians say 52 Russian soldiers were also killed, but the Moscow-backed authorities claim it was a fertilizer store and 7 civilians have died. Al Jazeera cannot independently confirm either claim. Pictures taken in the daylight give some idea of the damage caused. The US has been rushing missile systems to Ukraine, believing they can help push back Russian forces. One US senator urged Congress to send more and send them quickly.
When people understandably ask about our support for Ukraine, our taxpayer-funded aid to the tune of billions of dollars, they deserve to know that their hard-earned taxpayer dollars are being spent wisely. In my view, that means spending it on weapons like HIMARS that are actually making a difference on the battlefield.
The Russians are believed to be in an operational pause in the east of the country, ready to push on and take the rest of the Donbass region. The pause is to restock, refuel and resupply, but that becomes much more difficult if the Ukrainians are able to target and successfully destroy ammunition dumps.
It's time now to preview what's coming up on Morning Barbados. We say good morning to you, Pearson Bowen.
Good morning, Wendy Burke. Good morning, everyone, as well. When you join me at 6:30 with all that's going on in the world, sometimes you just want a good relief. Sports is one of those areas to which you can turn, and there's a great deal signed by the Verticast Media Group with MCTV to bring to you Premier League football and a whole lot more. So just ahead of that launching, we'll be talking to the Chief Executive Officer about that arrangement. So get ready to hear about what's in store for you. Also, And Still I Rise is part of the residency of the Elive International Dance Exchange. They have a show coming up this weekend. We meet a couple of the people who are behind that, the choreographer and another one who can create great opportunities for our local dancers. Plus, this morning in our Talking HR with Hermab, we'll get to hear from two of those who would have led the organization. We'll take you back through the history until present time. So look out for that conversation on HERMAB when we talk with HR with HERMAB in just a little while. When you join me, Wendy, at 6:30 for Morning Barbados. It's back to you.
Thank you so much, Pearson. We're looking forward to those features at the bottom of the hour. We'll have more news on the CBC Morning Report next. The female wards at the Government Industrial School in Barrows, St. Lucie will be relocated soon. News of this came during a tour of the GIS facility in Dodge St. Philip yesterday. CBC's Crystal Hoyt has the details.
In a matter of weeks, the girls at the Government Industrial School will have a fresh start at a new location. The female wards, who are currently housed at Barrows in St. Lucie, will join the boys here at Dodgeland St. Philip. Renovations totaling $1.4 million Barbadian dollars got underway last month and are expected to be completed by September 9th. Minister of Home Affairs Wilfred Abrams, GIS management and project officials toured the facility and gave a comprehensive update on future plans.
What we're doing is we are renovating the old Carlstone buildings that were on the site, as opposed to building new structures. This building is the clinic. This is both a renovation and an extension. We are changing the floors. We're putting in new washrooms for both the staff and the students. The windows are all being changed, and there's going to be new plumbing and fixtures in this building as well.
The detention block is among the areas being renovated.
It is not in use. It hasn't been in use for some time. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this up to modern day standards so that it can be put back into use. So we're going to remove these slabs. This is going to be replaced with all new furniture. We're going to install plumbing, toilet and a sink, and we're also changing the windows and installing electricity as well.
And although the boys and girls will be on the same property and administrative resources shared, a physical barrier will separate the two sexes. The relocation of the female wards comes after months of public scrutiny of the Barrows facility and its protocols. Mr. Abrams wants to reassure the public this is more than a physical change.
On the 9th of September, fresh start. Fresh start, fresh curriculum, fresh outlook, fresh programs. That's what we want. It's not just a geographical change of location, but we're also looking to change the way the school operates. We're going to have purpose-built facilities that allow the girls to learn nails, hairdressing, the boys to learn barbering. We're going to try to provide as many opportunities here to allow our young people a chance to learn a skill that when they come out, they don't have to be scrunching for a job, but they can actually go to work for themselves. We're trying to create an entrepreneurial spirit among the wards of the Government Industrial School.
The transition is scheduled to take place in September. Crystal Hoyt, CBC News.
Meanwhile, Minister Abrams also addressed claims about a female GIS ward attempting to commit suicide by ingesting a mixture of substances while in the care of the state.
There's no way to stop somebody who wants to swallow some toothpaste from swallowing toothpaste. No way. Even if you give them the smallest amount of toothpaste sufficient only to brush their teeth, you cannot stop them from swallowing that. In this particular incident, and because the young lady was not actually mentioned, so I don't think anything is out there in the public as to her identity, I can tell you she later said she didn't ingest anything, right? Went on the QAH, the toxicology report came back negative.
Acting Principal Celeste Bradshaw says despite the negative toxicology report, adjustments will be made.
Once you are a ward at the school, you are provided with normal toiletries, toothpaste, soap. So it's everyday things that these children are using to do these things. So what we have done is that we've taken a position where we are going to take those things now away, and they will have to come for them when they need to use them, because we have to protect these children.
Mr. Abrams also provided an update on the department inquiry into the government industrial school, which was scheduled to be concluded weeks ago.
As everybody knows, two of the young ladies had absconded. They were not available to participate in inquiry. They were not available to put their case, and we could not possibly conclude the inquiry without having given those young ladies a chance to put their evidence and to have that evidence tested, investigated, and to form part of the findings of the inquiry.
According to him, to date, over 90 witnesses have been interviewed, and the committee is hoping to complete the inquiry soon. A stalwart of the local trade union movement has died. Erskine Levere Richards has passed away at the age of 82. In a statement, the Barbados Workers Union noted throughout his 45-year career with the organization, he held several positions: regional assistant, general secretary, and assistant director of organizing. BWU General Secretary Tony Moore has reflected on his contribution.
He represented the BWU on several boards nationally, including the Appeals Tribunal of the National Insurance Board, the BHTA, the Caribbean Regional Office of the IUF, and several other committees of the Ministry of Tourism. Richards, or Comrade Richards as he is called very affectionately, will be remembered as a titan in the trade union movement, strong on principle and a fierce defender of workers' rights. Many who spoke of him throughout the course of today spoke of him being an overall nice person with a soft heart. Sincerest condolences to his immediate family, other relatives and friends from the Barbados Workers Union family, and on a personal level from my family.
8 contenders will be on the ballot paper when Conservative MPs in the UK begin voting today to elect a successor to Prime Minister Boris Johnson.
Former Chancellor Rishi Sunak is currently the favourite. He's kicked off his campaign on Tuesday, promising honesty. After a series of votes, the UK's next Prime Minister will be announced on September 5th. Boris Johnson stepped down following internal pressure over a series of scandals. Paul Brennan has more on this now.
Well, we've got 8 candidates now left standing after elimination into the first round. The 1922 committee, which is a committee within the British Conservative Party responsible for electing the new leader, basically set the bar quite high. Normally, if you had 8 supporters within the party, you would get into the first round ballot. Instead, they put it up to 20 supporters that were required, hoping that that would thin out the field somewhat. We had 11 potential candidates. It hasn't really thinned out the field as much as perhaps the 1922 committee would have hoped. So we've got 8 candidates who will go forward to tomorrow's first round ballot, which will take place over 2 hours in the early afternoon on Wednesday. Big names who are still in, well, frankly, the front runner clearly within the parliamentary party is the former Chancellor Rishi Sunak, who has probably more than double the amount of support among his parliamentary colleagues than any of the other individual candidates. But another name that I think we need to watch out for is Penny Mordaunt. movement. The Conservative Home website did a survey on Tuesday of Conservative members, and they're the ones who will get the postal ballot at the end of the day to select the leader. And Penny Mordaunt, surprisingly, came out top amongst Conservative members. So, yeah, at the moment, it looks between Rishi Sunak and Penny Mordaunt, but the other 6 would probably will disagree with me.
Sri Lanka's president is scheduled to resign today in the midst of that country's unprecedented economic crisis. However, the average resident is more thinking of survival rather than politics. A look now at sports. Jaya Simmons and Adara Stoddard were recorded breakers as Barbados collected 6 medals on day 3 of the CC Can swimming competition at the Aquatic Center in Wilde. Simmons was outstanding in the 11 to 12 girls, winning the 100-meter freestyle event in 1 minute 0.59 seconds, breaking her own national record of 1 minute 01.13 seconds set at this year's Carifta Games. Heidi Stout picked up the bronze medal in that event in 1 minute 1.03 seconds. Meanwhile, Stoddard also finished third in the girls 15 to 17 200-meter breaststroke in 2 minutes 42.59 seconds, again breaking her own national record set at Carifta in April. That of 2 minutes 43.34 seconds. The winner of that race, Emily Santos of Panama, broke a 5-year-old CC Can record of 2 minutes 37.80, stopping the clock in 2 minutes 37.52 seconds. CBC's Damien Best reports on the medal winners from Barbados in the 50-meter backstroke.
The Aquatic Center in Wilde buzzing with excitement. Let's take a dip. It's the girls 11 to 12 50-meter backstroke. Barbados with 2 entries in the pool. Jaya Simmons in lane 3 and Toria Aline in 7. A good start, essential. Simmons was going well. Aline struggling at the moment. Alexa Sarti Baruta of Mexico in the middle of your screen in lane 4, wearing the white cap, was in medal contention as well. A couple meters to go, and Simmons reaching for it. Baruta gets there first. Violet Smith of Bermuda nips Simmons at the wall for silver. The winning time, 32.56 seconds. Smith, 32.89. Simmons, 33.03 seconds.
And for a look at our weather picture now. It is presently 26.5 degrees Celsius. Humidity stands at 71%. The barometric pressure 1015 millibars, and the winds are from the east at 26 kilometers per hour. The low tide will be at 9:37 a.m. and another low tide at 9:20 p.m. in the evening. High tide will be at 4:15 p.m. The seas are moderate in open water with swells ranging from 1.5 to 2 meters. And the forecast for today, a mix of sunshine and clouds with a few scattered light showers. Tonight is expected to be a mix of clear skies and clouds with a few brief scattered light showers. Here's now a look at the international cities. Well, that's today's morning report. Our next newscast will be Newsday beginning at noon. And you can also follow The World at 1 on the radio stations of CBC. It's time now for Morning Barbados.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And that's what I say to you as well. Good morning to you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today. Today is Wednesday, July the 13th, 2022. I am Pearson Bowen, welcoming you here, there, and everywhere across the globe. Thank you for joining us on our streams, on our YouTube channel, and our Facebook pages as well. As always, Welcome to today. Now, speaking of today we'll be having 4 more of the Junior Monarch finals who will be competing on Saturday for the 2 crowns that will be up for grabs in the Junior Monarch finals this year in the soca and calypso categories. So we'll meet 4 more, mighty little bit. Yeah, he's going to be here. Bit will join us this morning, so look out for that. Also this morning, we'll talk a little bit to those of you who have elevated PSA levels, the opportunity available here on the island for there to be elevated screening. So there's a way for us to be able to attend to this when you have an elevated result from your PSA screening. So gentlemen, don't miss it today when our urologist joins us. We'll be talking HERMAB. That's right, talking HR with HERMAB today, looking back, looking forward as well, so look out for that conversation. And still I rise that residency, that opportunity for dancers on the island. You know, last time we met, we talked a little bit about the opportunity for those of you to register, to mix and mingle with those of vast experience. There's a show coming up this weekend, we'll tell you about that, but we'll also meet the choreographer and others who've been working with those local dancers. We'd also be sharing with you a little bit more too about an opportunity for you to know more about what's happening in the world of sport on MCTV. Oliver McIntosh will join us to talk about that. Plus, we'll give you an opportunity to unscramble some letters. But I want to begin this morning with the news. And you will recall that we would have had some time here on Morning Barbados spent talking about Pull Up for Philip. Remember him? Philip Small, the young teenager who had leukemia. And so just recently there was an appeal for blood donations. Can we show? So that those who may have forgotten, there he is. A young man in his prime, and the news is this morning that he has passed. Philip Small, we thank, no doubt, Jehovah God for his life here on earth, short though it was, and the many people who he's impacted from at his church, at his school, and in his favorite sports as well. So we extend condolences to the family, loved ones, and all of those who have been impacted by the life of Philip Small Jr. Rest in peace indeed. And so from Morning Barbados, we extend to his family and relatives our deepest condolences. Now, let's get started by looking at Premier Sports on MCTV. It's back. And the man to join us to talk a little bit more about that is the Chief Executive Officer of Verticast Media Group, Oliver McIntosh. Good morning to you, Oliver.
Hi, good morning, Pearson, and good morning, Barbados.
Thank you for joining us. Your words are, Verticast is set to transform your viewing experience by providing the very best international and local content across multiple platforms. True, false, and if so, how?
So, Verticast is a company that was established earlier this year. And true to its name, it's meant to be a vertically integrated broadcast company. Now, what does that mean? It means that we will be participating in delivery of content across various genres, so sports, general entertainment, news, and we'll be working with a number of the broadcasters throughout the region so that it's not only available on cable, but also content that will be available on free-tier television. So, we'll be working with CBC, for example, TV8 in Barbados, as well as many other broadcasters in the region. So it's a bit of a paradigm shift in media and broadcasting that will really allow us to develop content and our ability to produce more content throughout the region.
There's a huge thirst, you know this by now, you've had the experience over the years, a huge thirst in the region for sport and Premier Sports as well. And I know we're just weeks away from the Premier League in football. Can you tell us a little bit about what we can expect when we switch on to all of this on MCTV and TV8?
Sure. So, when we started this company, the first, and we announced it, the first calls I got were from my friends who have MCTV in Barbados and said, listen, when are we getting Premier League football? So I'm very happy to announce that our 2 channels, C Sport and C Sport 2, will broadcast on MCTV. So the MCTV subscribers will have a full slate of the 380 Premier League matches that kick off on August 5th with the best team in the league, Arsenal. No bias there.
None recognized.
But it will also have, the channel will also have other content such as FIFA football, European national football, including the Euro competitions. And we will have a slate of locally produced content as well. We're working through some ideas now in Barbados, and in Jamaica, and in Trinidad and Tobago to produce local sport as well. So it's a first entree for us into the market in terms of our channels, and we're happy to be partnering with the MCTV team to bring a full slate of the Premier League plus so much more sports.
What do you think is the true benefit or value by this arrangement to our sports fans?
Well, especially to those sports fans on MCTV who were not able to see the Premier League football for the last number of years. This ensures that they get the expanse of premier sports, top sports in the world. The other benefit is, this is an indigenous company that is owned and run by Caribbean people throughout that are based throughout the region. So our company is made up of persons in Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, and we've come together really to put together a premier media company that will have the best in all content. And that means more local production, that means more employment locally, and it means a development of technology locally. That means that for us, a development of the media industry. We found that the media industry is somewhat stagnated because of less production in certain markets, and that's primarily, I think, because of just the economies of scale. So the setup of our company is really to regionalize the distribution of content that includes our sports channels and our sports content.
And for the sporting fan, I believe it is also an opportunity not just to see your stars, but to see yourselves in competition as well. And out of that, the opportunity for you to also improve on your skill sets as well. So when we switch on to these two channels, we're seeing Premier League football, we're seeing FIFA, we're seeing the NFL, we're seeing so much content. And
that's right.
Let's talk a little bit about that, though, the range of sports on C Sport and C Sport 2 that we will actually be able to experience and interact with.
Yeah, so we are putting out two channels primarily because we want to make sure that we offer live content when live content is played. So in the past, all the matches weren't able to be shown because they were played at the same time. They were conflicting matches. So now we're able to show, the 5 matches on a Saturday from the Premier League. We're able to show two NFL games at the same time on both channels. In addition, we'll have a third channel that we will offer to MCTV and to the other cable operators in the region, just in case there are 3 matches taking place at the same time. So in the English Premier League, for example, in the 10 o'clock kickoff window, 10 o'clock in Barbados, there are typically 3 or 4 matches. So now your audience will be able to see all the matches played at the same time. And that's what we're really bringing to the fore. We are not in the business of warehousing content. We're in the business of making sure that the options are available for the audience in Barbados and throughout the Caribbean.
I like the fact I like that statement. We're not in the business of warehousing content, indeed. But the delivery, because you spoke also to it being accessible on other media. So talk to us a little bit about that and how viewers can begin to line up to have access to the other streams that are available for C Sport and C Sport 2.
Sure. Well, at the moment, MCTV is the sole carrier in Barbados on television. We'll also be launching on digital media with our own app that will carry not only live content from the Premier League, NFL, FIFA, Euros, and so forth, but there'll be a slew of other content, both internationally produced and locally produced, that viewers in Barbados will be able to tap into when they want, where they want, and how they want. So whether it's on your mobile phone or on your laptop, you happen to miss the game miss a match on MCTV, no problem. We'll have a very deep video on demand library of content that you could, at the touch of your finger, go back and watch highlights, watch a full match, get your updates on scores, league positions, a slew of content and inventory that really puts you at the pinnacle of the sports world.
Now that their appetites are pouring, Oliver, when is this launching so that our viewers begin to really get it? Because I could feel them already revving up. Can't wait to watch.
Sure.
Tell us when.
Sure. I can imagine a lot of them are going out to buy their Arsenal jerseys. Yes. Line up, because they will sell out very fast, Pearson. They'll sell out very fast. But we start our broadcast on the week of July 25th. As we get ready for the kickoff for the Premier League season on August 5th, and the kickoff of the NFL preseason that same weekend, and then heading down into the NFL season in September, and then the European Nations League in September as well, and then eventually the World Cup in November. So the excitement, you could feel the excitement.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is the time of the year where football fans kind of knock their heads against the wall, because, you know, there's this year there's obviously there's no Premier League during the summer, but there's no FIFA competition because the World Cup is in November. Mm-hmm. European football is very minimal, so the football fans are antsy. There's a lot of pent up demand, and C Sport is here to make sure that we meet that pent up demand.
Folks, July the 25th, July the 25th, July the 25th, all of that comes down the pipe. They're not warehousing content. It's coming to you live. It's accessible on your digital platforms, but most of all, it's accessible on MCTV. And if you don't already have MCTV, I keep telling you this every morning, our customer care desk opens at 8 o'clock. So just come on down, give us a call, and let's see what we can do to help you have access to all of this content indeed. Verticast Media Group, with its launch of 2 channels, C Sport and C Sport 2 on MCTV. Oliver, all the best to you and your team in its delivery of this amazing content. All the sports fans are going to love you for this, and we are thanking you already in anticipation.
No, we can't wait for the season to start and for the channels to get up and running and to be on accessible to MCTV subscribers. So thank you, Pearson, and thank you to everyone at Barbados.
You're welcome. Oliver McIntosh,
Right.
Chief Executive Officer and President of Verticast Media Group. C Sport 2 from July the 25th live on MCTV. Great sports opportunities for all of you into the passion of football and so much more. All right there in one space on one service, MCTV in Barbados. We'll take a break right here. We're coming right back with more in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We're approaching 13 minutes now to go to 7 o'clock here on this Wednesday edition of Morning Barbados. We would have told you about this last week, the Eleve International Dance Exchange, where the opportunity has been afforded local dancers to engage with some international dancers and choreographers, and opportunities for you to be able to not just learn new skills and new steps, but perhaps to be able to take that skill set abroad. Joining us this morning as we continue the journey with them, the Eleve International Dance Exchange, is Daphne Lee, who is an international dancer and a choreographer. With her is Jenny Lewin Turner, the Director of Urban Flow Creative. Ladies, good morning to you.
Very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Firstly, welcome to Barbados. I hope you found it to be home.
Of course.
Good. You've said the right thing, of course. Great to see you. Daphne, because I read your bio and it says that you have some way a connection with this beautiful island of ours. What's that connection?
Yes, on my paternal grandfather's side. He is from this area, St. George, St. Andrew. So it's nice to actually be able to return home and actually use my skills as an artist to connect with the dancers here.
Thank you for saying home. So your skill is that as a dancer. Talk to us about your experience, first of all, as a dancer.
So I am currently a professional ballerina with the Dance Theater of Harlem in New York City. And I also recently completed my master's degree in dance. So the big connection of working with the Eleve Performing Arts Group is to make students understand that this is more than a hobby. This is a full-time career where you can really use your skills as an artist to not only dance around the world, connect with summer intensives and network, but to be also expanding the knowledge of dance that goes beyond just being on stage. There's dance photography, dance cinematography, there's dance in higher education. There's so many outlets that dance can connect to, and that's my job here, is to break that myth.
I've just been looking at your pictures as you were speaking, and I'm thinking at the same time as I watch them, you know, we oftentimes think of ballerinas as those little girls who are like little birds across the stage, tippy-toeing as they go. But I saw you doing much more with your expression, which suggests to me that you've used your skills in ballet to incorporate into other forms of dance. Would I be interpreting it correctly?
That is correct. But I want people to know that I was also a modern dancer first. I was with the Alvin Ailey 2, which is the junior company of the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. So I trained at Ailey Fordham. That's where I got my undergraduate. So I already have a vast knowledge of skills and genres under my belt. And that's why this connection with Eleve is so important, because yes, we're ballet dancers, but we've worked with Beyonce, we've worked with other stars, celebrities, etc. So to be able to come here and actually share that knowledge, like, yes, we're ballet dancers. However, these are all the things we can do, and then some, and then adding the educational component on top of it makes you a more world-class artist.
Yeah, there are lots of sums that you've added on top of that. And that's the whole thing, to have the foundation and you build on that foundation. Jenny, now talk to me a little bit as the Director of Urban Flow Creative. What's been your experience through dance so far?
Well, believe it or not, many, many moons ago, I actually trained formally in dance. But, you know, in recent times, I've been really passionate about connecting communities across the Caribbean and, you know, with the UK. But also just extending on what Daphne was saying, it's really about letting people know and inspire us so many more opportunities within dance, within arts. And the key themes that have informed the work that I've been doing over the past 10 years really is about connecting communities, connecting the diaspora, and creating opportunities for the import and export of creative talent. There's so much talent, and the opportunities just haven't been there for them to get the exposure. So I've been the mediator, if you like, the conduit, enabling the opportunities, you know, producing events, producing shows, producing exhibitions, and also partnering with like Sussex Festival of Performing Arts, who created a huge prestigious platform for performers from Barbados to take their art and show. They have done. They've really blown audiences away. So it's about creating more of those opportunities.
Let's talk a little bit about your experience so far. You're here on a 10-day residency. How has that been going, by the way? And what have you discovered about our own local dancers?
They're They are so passionate and they are sharp. They pick up quite quickly. We only had a few hours over 2 days to set choreography, me and my colleague Stephanie, and it's been wonderful. It's been wonderful sharing feedback, sharing artistry skills, and I'm so excited to see them perform on Friday just because they have so many works that they're already doing, but to be able to take our information and connect with us, you can really see that they understood the process and understood the assignment perfectly. Yeah, this whole island with the arts, again, the talent is here. It's really about what Jenny said, the exposure, and they're hungry. They're just like, how do you go to a summer intensive? How do you major in dance? There's a few dancers that are already going to be studying dance. So again, seeing their growth over this past weekend, again, incredible. And I'm looking forward to doing their spacing and tech rehearsals later this week.
Did it surprise you, though, Daphne, when you met with the dancers, to think that, oh, I did not know? You probably thought, I didn't know that Barbados had this level of skill sets here. Did you think that way at any given time?
That's not true. I've been working this whole year on many different islands. So I know with the technology that we have, with the resources, there's been other dance makers and creators here in Barbados that have been doing the work as well. So I knew they knew the information, but to have somebody and be tangible and hands-on with them, you know, everything is Instagram and TikTok these days. So they knew pretty much who I was before I got there. But to be able to see me in the flesh and work one-on-one, that is something you get, especially during the pandemic. Everything was done over Zoom. So to be able to be here in person and answer their questions, communicate with what it's like to be a professional working 9 to 5, that's the real gold right there.
And have you been seeing that, Jenny, as well, when you interacted with our dancers, that it factor that says to you, yeah, I think you're ready. I think you're almost ready for the next stage. Have you found that too?
Without a doubt, and in fact, I would go as far as to say that they're at a higher stage than most people imagine. And I can understand the question that you asked, Daphne, because there is this perception, and it's a really wrong perception held in some quarters, about the ability and the quality of dance, and it far surpasses some of the, you know, people who've trained at, you know, the classic schools in the UK, for example. So. Yeah, and it also, it's really important to point out that this is just the pilot. It's been in the making for several years. Obviously, the pandemic put plans for it for a short while, but it just gave us a longer time to engage with each other virtually. But this is the pilot, the start of a very, very long journey, and we're in it for the duration, and we are going to get, going to motivate and elevate the performers. The artists in this country are going to get that opportunity, and we're definitely at the forefront of making that happen.
Were you, Jenny, though, able with your team to be able to get into their heads so they understand the business of dance, the business of culture, the business of being creative, and how that creativity can really bring tangible benefits? Were you able to do so and have sessions about that?
Yeah. We not so much part of this. This has been part of the ongoing process with Elevate and other organisations. There's so many people who have been involved in this, you know, behind the scenes. But also, absolutely, people do understand the importance of it. But it took that experience of actually being on a professional stage in an international forum. That experience and the experience of Daphne and Stephanie. Coming and being there in a physical space is something you can't take that away, and there's just the alchemy that's in the room when people just, you know, in the same space with each other. They can, like as Daphne said, they can ask questions, but they get so motivated, and people have been really, really inspired, and that's amazing to experience.
It's just been a pilot, but we're hoping this pilot turns into something very long-term with Elevate International Dance. Now, from your perspective, Daphne, you know, the show is coming up this weekend, and Still I Rise. What an interesting title to begin with. But talk to me a little bit about the show and how we can really be a part of it to celebrate the success of those who've gone through this pilot phase.
You have said it correctly, really coming to celebrate their success. And I know the students have different pieces that they're going to be performing from their teachers, from their educators. So yes, Steffi and I have choreographed 2 different works for the dance team that's going to be performing. And then we will also be doing a small performance snippet as well, so they can just kind of get a glimpse of a little bit of our professionalness in there. So I believe the show is this Friday and Saturday. I think, yeah, the information's right there, and you guys can be able to come, support, celebrate these dancers because they've worked hard. They've really worked hard, and this has been nothing but amazing for the students here at Elevate.
It's at the Combermere School Hall, folks. Combermere School Hall, beginning at 7 o'clock each day. And we want to encourage as many of you as possible. You know, whether you love it or not, it's a great time for you to come and see the best of Barbados dancers who've gone through this pilot phase with the Elevate International Dance Exchange, where they've got to really sit literally at the toes of some international dancers and choreographers who have led them through many moves. And now they've put their moves on stage for all of us to see and adore. But, you know, you get your tickets as soon as possible and support this effort indeed. And so, Daphne, you and your team would have worked really hard. It's only been 10 days. I know it feels like just a little bit of time in my head, but I know for a dancer it's forever, because at the end of it, you're going to be sore. So sore, having gone through all of those moves. But nonetheless, the ladies have... were there men, by the way, in that cohort? Were there any men?
The men were in my open classes, yes.
Oh,
so we have one young gentleman who is known on the island, so he was able to share the space with me and a few other dancers that are in college now and university studying dance. So they were able to come back and share that space.
See?
So it's been, again, wonderful, but we need more. We need more men. And I want to make the comparison that we're also athletes. You know, I dance 40 hours a week. That's my 9 to 5.
See?
So this is important. This is just like athletes, the same type of schedule.
Fit as a fiddle, and they dance at the same time. So, Jenny, though, the opportunities now through the association with Urban Flow to be able now to take this skill somewhere else. How real is that, the possibility for our local dancers to be able to explore the world through dance?
Very real indeed. So the opportunities that are currently in the pipeline is to participate in Brighton Fringe, which is in England. It's the biggest international arts festival, and that's in May of 2023. There's also African Creative Exchange, which takes place in South Africa, but it's also virtually as well. 2 amazing platforms, and these are huge international festivals. The Free State Festival in South Africa as well. We've got contacts in Ghana as well. Of Europe. So the very real ones, the ones which we are working towards are May 2023, to have, not just have performers there, but we're going to document everything that's happening here now.
Yes.
So we're going to show the creative processes involved and who's done what. And like I say, it's an amazing story and a great success story for Barbados. And as I said, it's so important to promote the import and export of this amazing creative talent that we have right here on your doorstep.
We'd love that journey to continue forevermore. And so the residency, the association with the Elevate International Dance Creatives Exchange, we can't wait to see much more come from it. But we want to encourage everyone on this 15th and the 16th of the month, this weekend.
15th and 16th.
Yes, you're heading to the Combermere School Hall. The shows begin at 7. Get your tickets as soon as possible. Fill the school hall, but most of all, you will be mesmerized by great dancing. Daphne Lee will be on stage. Stephanie will also be there with her. They are ballerinas, and they are great, but they want to encourage as many of you as possible to come support. The dancers will be dancing from Barbados. Tickets are available at A&B Music Supplies. You can give them a call on 430-1100. The Elevate Performing Arts Centre, you can call 232-8709, or you can go to the website elevateperformingarts.org for more details. Dancers from Dance Theatre of Harlem, they will be performing on the 15th only. So don't miss the opportunity to be there to see world-class performances indeed. Ladies, thank you so much. Can't wait to have you back in Barbados to continue your residency. I've just extended it for you, by the way. The visa has been granted to you. You're welcome. Daphne Lee, an international dancer and choreographer, with her Jenny Lewin Turner, Director of Urban Flow Creative. Best of luck, ladies, going forward. And as they say in theatre, break a leg. Let's make this a great one. Thank you. You're welcome.
Bye.
You're welcome.
You.
Morning Barbados takes a break right here. We're coming back in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. 2 to you.
HERMAP and the things that are still in the pipeline for HERMAP, the journey till now. We'll be talking HR with them. Plus, coming up, a chance for you to meet 4 more of our Junior Monarch finalists. They are on stage on the weekend, Saturday as a matter of fact, at the Wilde Gymnasium from 7 o'clock. The show starts, and we want to encourage as many of you as possible to get your tickets and come out and support our juniors. They are vying for 2 crowns this year in the soca and calypso categories, and 4 more of them will join us this morning to talk about their preparation, the songs they'll be singing, and just how ready truly are they for the competition this year. Also, still a chance for you to unscramble some letters with me. You know how we do it. We're going to have some fun, so don't hold back on your fun. Bring out the heavy doses. Let's have some fun this morning. We have a couple words that we're going to toss into the air. Where they fall, the letters, I do not know, but when they fall, they will be in a most disorderly fashion. And I'd like you to be able to unscramble them and tell me a little bit about what you've discovered. Let's get the news. Here's Wendy Burke.
Here now is your news update. The Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association is concerned about the emerging global trend that continues to threaten the recovery of the industry and to dampen the pent-up demand for travel. Chairman of the organization, Renee Coppin, in a statement to Morning Report, said Barbados as a destination was already faced with a challenge of significant reduced airlift across all markets. It continues to translate into lower arrival numbers to the island, and that means it's negatively impacting occupancy levels as well as the level of business across the entire tourism sector. She said their reports indicate that there will be 18,523 less inbound seats from the UK market for the remaining summer months from July to October this year when compared to the last normal year of operation in 2019. This, she says, is a double-edged sword to battle, with flights on one end being very expensive and capacity on the other end being greatly reduced compared to pre-COVID-19 levels. She said tourism players now need to be focused on ensuring that we're not in the same position in 2023. This year has revealed several worrisome trends which they need to get ahead of. Minister of Labour, Social Security and the Third Sector, Colin Jordan, has extended his condolences on the passing of LaVere Richards. Jordan, in a statement, said he was saddened to hear the news of the passing of Richards, a stalwart of Barbados' labour movement, a respected leader of the Barbados Workers' Union, and a man who defended the rights of tourism workers with unmatched vigour. The minister said he was a fearless fighter for the right of workers across the spectrum, but particularly workers in tourism, and he always fought to raise their wages. They see him as a real champion of workers in the tourism industry. Mr. Jordan extended condolences on behalf of government, his own family, and as a St. Peter man who was an integral part of the community there. The 82-year-old Richards was also remembered by the head of the Barbados Workers' Union. They said his near 45-year career with the organization saw him in several positions. The General Secretary, Tony Moore, reflected on his contribution.
He represented the BWU on several boards nationally, including the Appeals Tribunal of the National Insurance Board, the BHTA, the Caribbean Regional Office of the IUF, and several other committees of the Ministry of Tourism. Richards, or Comrade Richards as he is called very affectionately, will be remembered as a titan in the trade union movement, strong on principle and a fierce defender of workers' rights. Many who spoke of him throughout the course of today spoke of him being an overall nice person with a soft heart. Sincerest condolences to his immediate family, other relatives and friends from the Barbados Workers' Union family, and on a personal level from my family.
Minister of Home Affairs Wilfred Abrams has addressed claims about a female GIS ward attempting to commit suicide by ingesting a mixture of substances while in the care of the state.
There's no way to stop somebody who wants to swallow some toothpaste from swallowing toothpaste. No way. Even if you give them the smallest amount of toothpaste sufficient only to brush their teeth, you cannot stop them from swallowing that. In this particular incident, and because the young lady was not actually mentioned, so I don't think anything is out there in the public as to her identity. I can tell you, she later said she didn't ingest anything, right? Went on the QAH, the toxicology report came back negative.
Acting Principal Celeste Bradshaw says despite the negative toxicology report, adjustments will be made.
Once you are a ward at the school, you are provided with normal toiletries, toothpaste, soap. So it's everyday things that these children are using to do these things. So what we have done is that we've taken a position where we are going to take those things now away, and they will have to come for them when they need to use them, because we have to protect these children.
Mr. Abrams also provided an update on the departmental inquiry into the GIS, which was scheduled to be concluded weeks ago.
As everybody knows, two of the young ladies had absconded. They were not available to participate in inquiry. They were not available to put their case, and we could not possibly conclude the inquiry without having given those young ladies a chance to put their evidence and to have that evidence tested, investigated, and to form part of the findings of the inquiry.
According to him, to date, over 90 witnesses have been interviewed, and the committee is hoping to complete the inquiry soon. Well, that's it from me, Pearson. It's back to you.
Thank you, Wendy. Our time is 9 after 7. We'll take a break here. We're coming back to talk HR with HERMAB in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's 11.5 minutes now after 7 o'clock. You know, on a Wednesday morning, this is one of my favorite subject areas that we want to talk about. We're talking HR with HERMAB, the Human Resources Management Association of Barbados. Joining us now to talk a little bit more about this is Ed Bushell, who as an independent HR professional, you know he's one of the founder members of HERMAB. With him is Brittany Brathwaite, who is an immediate past president of HERMAB as well. Good morning, both of you.
Good morning. Good morning, Pearson.
Good morning, to see. Barbados. Yes, indeed. Good to see both. Ed, you are best placed to tell us a little bit about the history of HERMAB. What were the conditions prevailing then? I think we started in 1996 that led to the formation of HERMAB.
No, actually, we started a little bit earlier.
Really?
Because as early as 1994, we were talking, a group of HR professionals were talking about forming an organization to meet the needs of our of the HR profession in Barbados. There are a lot of things that we needed to get done. We were operating a very strong industrial relations climate, and our main focus at the beginning was not to do with HR development, but had to do most with industrial relations and with labor management relations.
And it must have been quite a testing time at that time, 1994, if I recall. You know, Barbados was really being tested. The fabric of human resources, how we treat to people and those kinds of things. So talk to me a little bit, Ed, about what was being said, what was being done, and then what in the formation of HERMAB we suddenly saw changes in?
Well, as I said, our original reason for forming HERMAB was to deal with the industrial relations climate that was existing at the time. And we recognized that the union side, the trade union side, was very well trained. The shop stewards were very well trained. But from the management side, the supervisory side, they were not as well trained. Training was almost non-existent. So that at the organizational level, and when I say I'm talking about the Employers Confederation from which the HERMAB sprang. We were faced with going into situations where we were not being very successful in dealing with the matters because our managers and supervisors were not trained in standard disciplinary and supervisory matters. So we were that was the original idea of starting HERMAB. So we put together a steering committee of 6 persons existing at the time to form an organization to really represent the interests of human resource practitioners in Barbados at the time. And HERMAB came out of that, but HERMAB initially started as a child, I'm going to use the word as a child, of the Barbados Employers Confederation, of which I was the executive director.
Yeah. And I think over time we have really grown to appreciate the value of the formation of HERMAB. We've seen the benefits tremendously. Brittany, you and I, we've had many conversations here on Morning Barbados over time about HERMAB and the work of HERMAB. But building on that foundation though, Brittany, you know, naturally, having started HERMAB, there are many things that would have had to have happened for it to sustain itself and to be as such a vibrant organization today. What were some of the things you think were put in place so that people like you, as a practicing HR professional, would have been able to benefit from?
I think it was very prudent that each successive president, including myself in the first year in 2019, ensured that there was an annual conference. And what this did was to create a space for human resources practitioners to converge, to discuss the trending topics, and also to engage with international, regional, and national experts on specific topics. Outside of that annual conference, we of course, and successive presidents have continued to build on strategic partnerships with organizations such as HERMAT and HERMAD across the region. And of course, we now have the Caribbean Human Resources Association of the region. So we've built on those strategic partnerships. We've created forums for HR practitioners to converge and to engage and to ensure that we're getting the best out of each other. And also, HERMAB has built a training arm that I think creates a space to fill the skill gaps and the needs of our membership base, and even now beyond our membership base through virtual needs.
And you know, the wonderful thing is that whenever I think of any kind of thing happening, I reach to HERMAB first. You know this, Brittany. Joel knows it herself as well. My first thought, HERMAB can help me with this. And a lot of times, a lot of practicing HR professionals perhaps don't even know that. So Ed, let's talk about that. What were some of the things you think that still need to be done to be able to engender that level of confidence that equip human resource practitioners to be able to manage a lot of what's been the changing world of employment in Barbados?
Well, one of the early roles of HERMAB, and I think it still has that as an integral part of its operation, was to convince and to ensure that HR had its place at the head table. The engineers have theirs, the accountants have theirs.
Yes.
And it took some time, and HERMAB was very instrumental in getting a place at the table for its practitioners. And of course, as HR became more and more specialized, because initially you were HR officer and you did with the administration of people in the organization. But as HERMAB has seen and participated in the strengthening of the role, so that there are lots of specialization in HERMAB now. So in addition to the plain practitioner, you have specialists in areas like training and compensation, etc., that we did not have before. And Herma was very instrumental in getting those things on the table and getting them organized in Barbados.
You talked a little bit about the...
I also,
Go ahead.
one other thing was just reinforce what Brittany said about the conference. I think the conference is one of the major drivers in accelerating Herma to national prominence. When the very first conference was held in 1995, and in our planning, we had planned, we said we'll do this conference in a workshop style, and if we were lucky, we should get about 30 people attending this conference. Of course, the results were astounding.
Yes.
Because companies took the opportunity to send not the HR people alone, but their managers and supervisors to participate in this workshop that were dealing with basic bread and butter issues that affected organizations in Barbados.
And you know, so many things continue, Brittany, to affect employers and employees in Barbados. The pandemic itself caused a whole shift in the way business is treated to relationships with employees and employers. What's been HERMAB's role through this ever-changing pandemic?
Thanks for that question, Pearson. I think the pandemic created a situation that many of us, in our generation had never faced before. And what HERMAB sought to do was to fortify its voice as an advocacy organization, as a national policy contributor, by embedding ourselves into the already existing committees and boards, but also extending ourselves. During that time, we committed to, through the Ministry of Labour and through a committee that both Ed and I sit on, to the rewrite of the Human Resources National Policy of Barbados. That was one of the things I was involved in. We had our members, volunteer members, student members, professional members, delivering and facilitating sessions with the Ministry of Labour through the Chief Labour Officer. We had the very first session we kicked off during the pandemic was actually with the ILO regional office, their employer representative there, and Caribbean economist Marla Ducaran, who's a very good friend of mine, and the contribution of HR practitioners to the redevelopment of our economies post-COVID was always the focus of HERMAB, ensuring that we put that in focus, and also looking at the mental health needs of these practitioners who were so worn out during this period. So it really was a balancing act of ensuring that our practitioners and our members and non-members had the information that they needed to navigate the difficult time, while ensuring that they maintain their sanity and coming out on the other side of this better practitioners because of it.
But a lot of the labour landscape has changed as well. Contractual terms have been adjusted, relationships between employer and employee have changed. What do you see to be HERMAB's role now going forward that COVID has created this shift?
I think one of our major responsibilities is, I'm sorry.
No, I do take it first.
I think one of our major responsibilities is to help our members adapt to the rapidly changing and very volatile environment in which we operate in. We have more rules and regulations now than ever before, but still it needs adaptation to meet the current environment in which we operate in. Adaptation is a major assistance we need to help our members achieve.
Brittany?
Yes, I think it's really important that we continue to facilitate via the training arm of the association. We reinforce the legislative and the regulatory framework that exists to ensure our members are aware of that, not just from a national perspective, but from an international perspective. So what are conventions saying, even where we don't have legal framework? What should your organizations be doing in advance and proactively? And secondly, it's really important to engage with our strategic partners. And Ed said, the HERMAB came through as a child of the Barbados Employers Confederation. And I am a former employee labor management advisor of the Barbados Employers Confederation, and I can speak to the the wonderful working relationship HERMAB has had and continues to have with the BEC in ensuring that members, many of whom have dual membership between the organizations, are provided with the information and a continuous information flow on how to navigate the environment that we continue to see evolving through a labor regulatory perspective.
Quickly, Ed, since it was your baby, you were part of the founders of HERMAB. What do you see to be the future when you look past now for HERMAB?
Well, I think HERMAB has an excellent future because some of the things that existed before, some of the opportunities that we had before still are there. I still think that we need to have a bigger place on the table for some of our members, but they of course they have to take responsibility for getting there themselves as well. But HERMAB in the future, as I said, there's more and more labor legislation coming down the pipe every day. We have to get our members knowledgeable, to understand how it impacts on their own organization, how it impacts on the membership of HERMAB, and one of the major changes actually is the whole question of legislation.
Yes.
That in the early days that was nearly non-existent. We practiced voluntarism. Now is legislation.
All right. Brittany, from your perspective, what do you see to be the potential future for HERMAB?
I think there's continued focus on corporate governance and the strengthening of the corporate governance and the succession planning of the organization to ensure that it's here for another 50 or 60 years. The deepening of our strategic alliances with national, regional, and international partners so that we ensure we serve our members. And that, as Ed said, the ever focus on the legislative and the regulatory framework. And I would dare say, not just from a national perspective, but all practitioners should have their eyes on the international scope, how things are churning, and keeping their eyes out to ensure that they're either in proactive compliance or in compliance, with what is on the ground.
I am so happy and so comfortable with HERMAB now. I know, given the focus and the energy of the leadership of HERMAB, it's going to go far further. And I really want to thank you, Ed Bushell, you and your founders, for helping to put this all together. And Brittany, for you being a part of the charge for taking it forward. Joan now leads the organization. And there's so many young people who are passionate about seeing the ever-changing tide of HERMAB indeed. I really want to thank you for the work you've done thus far, and thank you too for sticking with it as well. Thank you, Ed Bushell, and thank you, Brittany.
Thank you, Pearson.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome indeed.
Have a wonderful day.
You know, you guys, I'm not even a member, but I love HERMAB as if it was mine. Thank you very much. We'll take a break right here. We're coming back with more in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning to you.
So it's time for us to go into our doctor's office. We're talking now about the prostate, gentlemen, and when one has elevated PSA results. We'll talk a little bit about that in just a moment when he joins us. But that's what we want to look at. So gentlemen, this is a very good time for you to prick your ears, turn up the volume, to pay closer attention, because as men, our prostates will grow, and so as that happens, the growth, we have to keep monitoring it to get ahead of anything that could possibly happen. And so when you hear the calls often for you to be screened, your PSA screening to be done, we want to encourage as many of you as possible to step forward boldly and get it done, because in knowing there's a lot that one can actually do. There's a lot of, actually there's so much power in knowing one's result. And so in doing so, we want to talk a little bit about what we can do if we receive an elevated reading for our PSA screening. Don't be scared. There's no reason to be afraid at all, because as we would have said in previous sessions, an elevated reading does not translate into morbidity. It really truly does not. It could possibly mean that there's something that your doctor, your urologist can work through with you, that you can manage it as you go. And so we want to share with you an opportunity for you to be able to manage it. So what do we do when we have an elevated PSA? Dr. Paul Rouse joins us to talk a little bit about that. Dr. Rouse, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me again on the show.
You're very welcome.
I wanted to, this morning, thanks for the nice introduction about men not being afraid to have their PSA checks done. As you know, it's all about looking for prostate cancer early. Just like any other cancers in the body, once prostate cancer is caught early, your chances of dying from prostate cancer are quite low. If we believe the American figures, I think they're 1 in 8 to 1 in 10 Americans are diagnosed with prostate cancer throughout their lifetime, but less than 1 in 25 die from prostate cancer, provided you manage it well. So one of the key things of management of any cancer, including prostate cancer, is screening, which is really detecting disease at an early stage, quite frankly, when you're asymptomatic, because unfortunately, like other cancers, by the time you become symptomatic of prostate cancer, it's quite an advanced cancer. As you alluded to there, Pearson, having your PSA check is a very important part of that. So unfortunately, though, the problem with PSA, although it's prostate specific, it isn't prostate cancer specific. And there are quite a few things that can cause a high PSA, including the age-related enlargement that you talked about, and also things like inflammation of the prostate gland as well. You can have prostatitis, and you can have that actually without any symptoms at all. And these are probably the 3 more common diseases of the prostate. And unfortunately, they all 3 cause the elevated PSA. All 3 can cause enlargement of your prostate gland. And therefore, we need some other tools rather than having to biopsy every single man. Because one, that'll be quite expensive if you biopsy everybody with an elevated PSA, and 2, biopsies are not totally benign. They are associated with a small risk of bleeding. Fortunately, knock on wood, that's usually not too much of a problem nowadays. But the real problem with biopsies is really infection. Despite all the antibiotics we give and stuff like that, about 1 in 10 men will have a significant infection following a biopsy. And I do about 40, 50 biopsies a year. Last year I had a guy that had to be a patient that had to be admitted because of sepsis following biopsy, and had to have some IV antibiotics for a good 4 or 5 days. So you can see it's not a totally benign. So what I wanted to let men know, don't be afraid. Not everybody needs to have a biopsy. We also now have available, my radiology colleagues, both MRI Barbados and Diagnostic Imaging do offer multi-parametric MRI. And therefore, we have this tool available that can help us differentiate between those men who need to go in to have a biopsy and those who may not necessarily need to have a biopsy at this stage when they're being found to have an elevated PSA.
I took a little peep at your slides, if you don't mind. We want to show the first slide, which talked about the problem with prostate biopsy. Let's talk me through what you were talking about here.
So as it alludes there to in the slide, it's a poor diagnostic of clinically significant cancer. The real reason is that, as I said, unfortunately, as we get older, the prostate gland generally gets larger. That's the benign prostatic hyperplasia. And there's actually nodular hyperplasia. What I say nodular, little nodules, which can unfortunately mimic cancer. And similarly, a focus of cancer can mimic that as well. And therefore, it can make it a little bit, just using PSA alone, to screen for cancer, and then having to go on to do biopsies based on that, is a lot of biopsies are going to wind up actually being negative. Initially, when I came home, most of my biopsies would say 75% were probably positive for cancer. Now I'm probably down to somewhere in the region of about 50%, which is good. That means a lot of men are coming out and getting screened. But when you look, like when I was in the UK, only a third, maybe 20-25% of biopsies were positives. In other words, 3 out of 4 men had biopsies that didn't necessarily need to have biopsies. And as I alluded to, it has, bleeding is really, really not a good thing in the world, best thing in the world, or infection. I can remember once I was running a clinic where in those clinics we used to do 4 or 5 biopsies, and the first 2 men had complications. And you can imagine the rest of the men said, I'm not having no biopsy today. So it is not totally a totally benign problem. Again,
Yes.
the biopsy, especially if men have very big prostates, is like trying to find a needle in a haystack, as we would say. So if you got quite a massive prostate, especially when it gets above about 50 grams or so, we kind of, to a certain extent, hoping that we hit the cancer. Most prostate cancer is what we call multifocal. In other words, they involve multiple areas within the prostate. So hopefully by spreading out our biopsies, or what we call systematic biopsies, we hopefully will detect some cancer. But when we actually study this, the amount of tissue we take is less than 1,000th of the tissue of the prostate. So imagine you're basing radical treatments, whether it's surgery or radiotherapy, on a very small sample of the prostate tissue. And so you can imagine that there's quite a little bit of error involved there. So sometimes we say to men, oh yes, your cancer is confined, have radical treatment, have surgery, and then when the pathology comes back from the specimen, unfortunately it's a lot more advanced than we would have suspected on given biopsies. So that's where the multiparametric MRI comes in. It can show, if we can look at the slide with the pictures of the MRI, just to show you how this is a helpful tool in that I identify abnormal areas within the prostate. And what so this is a relative, so this first slide is showing what a relatively normal prostate would look like on an MRI. The picture on the left is a normal prostate, although it's a big prostate, it's showing the nice central transition zone. And that white area there at the bottom looking like a mustache, that's what we call the peripheral zone. That is where 75% of cancers arise, 25% arise in the transition zone. And then the little cartoon on the right, where you can see that big red arrow pointing to, that shows you a nice, well, not nice, shows you a lesion within the peripheral zone of that patient. And that shows you how with the MRI, rather than guessing to a certain extent, I can do what I offer men right now, is what we call MRI-directed biopsies, and target those abnormal areas in the prostate and hopefully give them a better, especially if it's negative, I'm a lot more confident that they don't have any prostate cancer because I would have targeted any abnormal areas within the prostate. And now I'm seeing as well, we're getting a few what we call low grades. So when the radiologist reports on this for me, they use something called a PIRAD score, and that's scored from 1 to 5. And we think 1s and 2s are relatively benign. You don't need to necessarily biopsy those men, and I can safely then monitor those men rather than having to have a biopsy and run the risk of, quite frankly, urosepsis. But if unfortunately it does show abnormal areas, then I can do more targeted biopsies of those abnormal areas. And this is really just a quick picture just to give you an idea what multiparametric MRI is. As the title suggests, it's using multiple parameters from the MRI to help us identify these abnormal areas. So the one on the left is showing a T2 weighted image with what we call a hypointense lesion or low signal lesion there in the left peripheral / transition zone. And then in the middle, you're seeing something called dynamic contrast enhancement, where that same lesion is lighting up. So this is where they give you some special radio gadolinium label isotope that is picked up by the prostate tissue, and therefore, unfortunately, abnormal areas, namely cancer or prostatitis for that matter as well, will pick up that gadolinium earlier and excrete it earlier. So you get this what we call dynamic contrast enhancement, and then they can use some special manipulation of those images and stuff to give you what we call diffusion weighted images. That's the cartoon on the left, on the right, this thing showing these abnormal areas. And you can see how we use these different parameters of MRI to help identify abnormal areas within the prostate. Or if, well, I'm hoping in most of the cases that they wouldn't find anything, that would be a nice pristine MRI, PIRADS 1, PIRADS 2. I can say to men, look, yes, although your PSA is high, it doesn't seem like there's any radiologically significant disease there. No need for biopsy. We can safely monitor them. Or, unfortunately, like in this case, in the picture, if it's an abnormal area, I can then target that area. And actually, in some centres in the UK where I worked, I was in Eastbourne, but in Brighton, they only did a targeted biopsies. Some of us are not quite as brave not to biopsy the rest of the prostate, because unfortunately we've had some good studies. I think it was a PROMISE study out of UCLH that showed that unfortunately we still miss 1 in 10 men with significant cancers if we don't do some systemic biopsies as well. So we have to take it on a case-by-case basis. But with multiparametric MRI now, I think or my need to biopsy has decreased, and therefore avoid men having to have those potentially nasty complications of biopsy.
So if anybody asks, is this available in Barbados? I say yes, you're here. So therefore, yes, it's available in Barbados. Dr. Paul Rose, we're out of time, but thank you so much. You know, it allays a lot of fears for a lot of people who have elevated PSA readings, screenings, that, you know, you can have your MRI done and you can begin to isolate and see exactly what needs to be done. A biopsy is not always necessary, but there are times when it might become necessary. But nonetheless, the MRI has a more targeted approach, takes a more targeted approach at arresting the problem. Thank you so much, Dr. Rouse.
Thank you. Good morning, Barbados.
Indeed, indeed. We'll take a break right here. We're coming back with more in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
So we have 20 minutes now to go to 8 o'clock. We have one chance to unscramble some letters, so don't squander the opportunity. Let's go. Give me a call on 228-5562 or 228-5563. Let's see if you can unscramble these letters. What word do you think we can make with these scrambled letters when you unscramble them? So should you unscramble them, you'll find a word in there. What is that word? 228-5562 or 228-5563. Figure it out. Give me a call. Can't wait to hear from you. What word do you think we can make using these letters? Put them in order and then call me. 228-5562 or 228-5563. Come on, come on, come on. So what word do you think you can see on your screen at the moment if you were to unscramble the letters you see on your screen at the moment? 228-5562 or 228-5563. I know a number of you are screaming at your TV thinking you got it. Come talk to me on the phone. Let's see if you do indeed have it. 228-5562 or 228-5563. I know a number of our onliners, they also engage. We thank you for engaging, but you know, the only way to talk to me to get to hear me say you got it right is to give me a call. 228-5562 or 228-5563. Good morning to you. Hello.
Good morning, Pearson.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And yourself?
Good, you're welcome. I'm well, thank you for asking. What's your first name and what
Brenda.
parish are you watching us from?
Brenda, watching from St. Michael.
Brenda from St. Michael. Brenda, what's the answer?
Graduation.
Brenda, again, what's the answer?
Graduation, Pearson.
Start it with a different letter, Brenda.
You sure about that?
Are you sure about what I'm asking? Talk to me, Brenda.
G-R-A-D-U-A-T-I-O-N.
And if you were to start it with a D, what word do you see? I gave you a good hint. If you were to start it with a D, what word do you see?
Not sure.
Not sure does not start with the letter D, but you're absolutely right, Brenda. It is indeed graduation. Well done. You've graduated to the top of the class. Congratulations to you, Brenda. Okay, thank you so much for watching and engaging with us. You're welcome too.
Bye-bye.
My pleasure. We'll take a break right here. We're coming back to meet some Junior Monarch finalists in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
16 minutes now to go to 8 o'clock as we meet two of the finalists in this weekend's Junior Monarch Scotiabank Junior Monarch competition. 7 o'clock, the show starts at the Wilde Gymnasium. Coming up is Mighty Bit, and with him is Shante Allen Clark. Good morning, both of you.
Good morning.
Bit, how you doing?
I'm good.
Listen, you came onto the scene and you took everyone by surprise. And everyone fell in love immediately with you. You're performing in the Calypso category. Talk to me a little bit about the song you're seeing in the finals this coming Saturday.
Okay, so the title of my song is You Must Pray for This Enemy. And as the name suggests, you must pray for this enemy. I think that when we pray, God listens to us. And with the whole COVID and stuff happening, I think that if we pray hard enough, He will answer us and take us out of the situation right now.
Mm-hmm. So how old are you now, Bit, by the way?
I am 11 years old.
You're 11. You're growing up fast. And so here it is now. You've got this song. I know previously Gabby would have written for you, the Mighty Gabby. Who wrote your song for you?
The Mighty Gabby wrote it this year.
Again? Jeez, all right. So you have a genius behind you, my brother. So you've been practicing hard. You've been working really hard. I know your stagecraft is excellent. Are you excited about Saturday?
Yes, extremely excited.
Well done. What about you, Shante? You're going to be performing in the soca category. Why did you choose to do soca as opposed to simply calypso?
Well, I wanted to do both at first, but this didn't make arrangements for that, so I just went with soca because I brought up my debut single, so I just was like, why not?
Okay, your debut single? Tell us about that.
Well, it's called Party Nice Again. It was produced by Red Boys. It was written by Shaft. And on Saturday, I plan to bring vibes. So, yeah.
How does it feel to know that you have a debut single written by Shaft, produced by Red Boys of Barbados? How does that all feel to know that you're now a recording artist?
Cool. Like, stepping into something new, something different, and it's like completing something I always wanted to do because I wanted to try soca for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I did that in Beach to the World. So it was just like, yeah.
So you're comfortable in the soca genre. So who are some of the soca artists that you think you really like to admire, and who would you like to pattern yourself if you do after?
There's so many to name, but I could name a few. I have to say TC is one of them. Edwin, Nikita, Alyssa Hines for sure.
Right, you give him a few. So who's been advising you ahead of Saturday's competition? What kinds of conversations have you guys been having?
Mainly my mom, grandma, manager. They have been getting me ready. They have been pushing me. You know, making me exercise when I didn't want to exercise anymore.
Yeah, the body has to be fit, the lungs have to be fit. So here it is now, we're just days away from the finals. Are you nervous?
No, please, actually. I don't normally get nervous going into competitions, so I'm not nervous.
Oh, you sure? Because listen, have you seen who else you're competing against?
I have, but I have to block them out and stay true to what I am doing on the finals.
Excellent. Bit, back to you. Have you seen who you are competing against, and is it scary for you?
To be honest, not really. I'm more scared on finals day to anything, because anything could happen on the night. And I hope nothing bad happens. Right, so I can't. Yeah.
I mean, you're familiar. You're almost like an oldster to the stage now. You've done this before, and so you know what the competition is about. What do you think you now need to do to be completely ready for Saturday's final?
Just go perform.
Just coming to perform. I like you. I like this. I like both of you, actually. I think it's going to be quite a competition on Saturday. It begins at 7 o'clock. And I know you have to continue exercising, but you need to get enough rest because you can't overstress the voice. You will need that. It is, after all, still a singing competition. So I want to wish both of you the absolute best in Saturday night's competition at the Wilde Gymnasium for the Scotiabank Junior Monarch Finals this year. And may both of you win in your respective categories, all right?
Thank you.
You're welcome indeed. Thank you. Have a good day indeed. The mighty Bit. He is Kenaz Walker, and with him, Shante Aline Clark. Bit is in the Calypso category. Shante is seen in the soca. She has her debut single. It's called Party Nice Again. We'll take a break right here. When we come back, we meet two more of this weekend's finalists in the Scotiabank Junior Calypso Monarch competition.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Oh, definitely these young stars are coming out on Saturday night. Saturday night at 7 o'clock at the Wilde Gymnasium for the Scotiabank Junior Calypso Monarch Finals. Two more finalists join me now. We are joined by King K, and we're also joined by Netanya. Good morning, both of you.
Hi, good morning.
And I'm calling you by your stage name because that is the name you're going to live with forevermore as two performers in the Junior Monarch Finals. King K, talk to me about your name. Who named you King K?
My mom.
Why did your mother call you King K?
Because I'm a king and my name starts with K.
I like your answer. How old are you?
I'm 10 years old.
And what school do you go to?
Vauxhall Primary School.
And school finishing on Thursday, so you'll have vacation just in time for the Junior Monarch Finals. Tell me about your song, King K.
My song, the name of my song is Warzone, and the reason I chose Warzone because there's too much violence going on in Barbados, and I think it's time we need to stop it.
I so agree with you. There's too much violence and it's time we stop it. Did you had a hand in writing your song?
No, please.
Who wrote the song for you?
Billboard.
Ah, Billboard has written your song. How has it been? You've been rehearsing? How has that been going?
Yes, I have been rehearsing.
Are you scared about Saturday coming up because it's only days away now?
Not really, because this is my second time.
Really? How did the first time go for you?
I was kind of nervous, but I got through it.
And you think you have it down pat now? You're an oldster to this, right?
Yeah.
You can handle yourself. Did you just see Lil Mighty Bit on the screen just a moment ago?
Yes, please.
You know, he's competing also in the Calypso category, just like you. Do you think you're ready to have that kind of competition?
Yes, please.
All right. Well done. Well done. King K. Netanya, you now are in the soca competition. Let's talk about you now. Why did you choose to compete in the soca competition?
I chose to compete in the soca competition because personally for me, soca is more hype.
Yeah.
And like you get to jump and move to the rhythm, so that's why I chose soca.
So that's what about you want to dance across the stage. I love it indeed.
Please.
Tell me about your name. Why did you choose the name, your stage name, Netanya?
I chose the stage name Netanya because that's my middle name, and personally I think it has a little bit more of a like ring to it, if that makes sense.
Yes. Your song is Make a Memory When Last. Tell me about that song.
My song is basically about doing everything in peace without violence and being together and increasing love and just having a good time in peace, basically.
Fantastic. Having a good time in peace. The whole operative thing is in peace. So clearly what's been happening really touches both of you in a very significant way that you want to sing about it. Natanya, when you stop for just a moment to think of what's happening around you really, how does it impact you?
Personally, for me, I am a young person, so if there's a lot of gun violence and stuff like that, that may influence me to go and pick up a gun and do something else. And I think that's really sad to show the little ones like King K. He's only 10. You never know when he grew up, what might happen. So the gun violence that's been happening today has impacted me and has really got me thinking how it may influence the youth of Barbados today.
How old are you and what school do you go to?
I'm 16 years old and I go to the Courage and Parry School.
You go where? Where you go? Tell me again. Tell me. You can say it hard. Where do you go to school?
Courage and Parry.
My school, girl. That's my school. So good to meet you. Let me take a pause for just a moment. I'm so happy to see another CP person on the screen with me. So how many years have you been performing in the Junior Monarch competition?
Well, this is my second year in the Junior Monarch competition.
So you're an oldster too. You're ready for competition. Tell me about rehearsals now, getting yourself ready for the stage on Saturday.
Rehearsals has been a journey because for me, my mommy want me to exercise and stuff, and it's like, seriously, I really don't like exercising. But for the mentorship and stuff like that, it has been good, and it has really opened my eyes as to how I could perform, how to attack the stage, and just how to have fun.
Yes. So who has been mentoring you?
There has been Red Plastic Bag and TC.
Well, you got two of the best, girl. You have two of the best. To mentor you, wonderful. So we can't wait to see all of that unleash on the stage on Saturday night. So who wrote your song, by the way?
Billboard wrote my song.
Oh, yeah. Billboard also wrote your song. This is great. He's been working really, really hard. In terms of arrangement and stuff, he would have worked on it with you too?
Yes, because I gave him my ideas on what I wanted for the song, and then he just basically helped me pursue them in music.
Do you think soca is a genre that you want to stick with right through and for as long as possible?
Yes, please. Because I think for me, soca is not only about walking up and stuff like that. You can also do it in a positive way. Yes. So that's what I'm working towards for me.
Indeed. King K, now, do you think you will stick with calypso, singing social commentary, or do you see yourself eventually becoming a soca star as well?
I think I will keep going on, but someday I might do a soca song.
That's only fair, but I love the fact that you're sticking with calypso as social commentary, because we do need to have social commentators. I know we can do it in soca, yes, but for the kind of rhythm and the genre in which you've chosen to perform this Saturday, I'm so happy and excited about this. Do you think you'll win, King K?
Yes, please.
Natanya, what about you? You think you got it, girl?
Yes, please. Everybody's good, so I don't know.
Yes. This is super indeed. So Saturday is where we will see you. We'll see you at the Wilder Gymnasium Saturday evening from 7 o'clock, the Scotiabank Junior Calypso Monarch competition. Remember, the show starts at 7. Tickets are available at the box offices there on your screen. Take a good look. On your screen, 2 crowns will be up for grabs. The Calypso Monarch and the Soca Monarch in the Scotiabank Junior Calypso competition this year. It is going to be a ding-dong battle. We got some excellent vocalists who will be coming to the stage. They have been working on their stagecraft. They've been working on their costumes. They have some really good mentors as well who've been working with them. So it is going to be quite a show. And I can't wait to see both of you come away with a crown as well. Thank you, King K, and thank you, Natanya, for joining us, and best of luck on the weekend.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, you're welcome.
You are very welcome indeed. And I really want to encourage all children, parents, guardians, everyone, as many of you as possible, get to the box offices, get your tickets, get to the Will Gymnasium early on Saturday. The show starts at 7, and you know how the NCF does it. They start on time. So don't be late. Let's be on time for the start of the Scotiabank Junior Calypso Monarch competition this weekend. And as many of you as possible, you can hear it on our radio stations here at the CBC, and you can see it right here with us as well. We'll take a break. Well, no, we're not. We're going to take that break for today because that's it for the show today. Thanks to my producer, Nadia Foster, our technical director, Anderson Nurse. Roel Ford has been here working along with us. Our sound technician has been Michael Sobers. At Master Control has been Tamisha Green and Pearson Boyne. For them, to all of you, good morning. We'll see you tomorrow.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.